This is intended for a mature audience only. Bitches.
Welcome, my fellow deviants, to Raw and Uncut. I am Randy.
Megan.
Izzy.
And for those of you just joining us, this is a podcast of three friends that are pushing the boundaries of social norms. We don't have any cleanup, do we?
No.
No. We
I
haven't
don't think so.
had any episodes lately where we've had any follow-up.
No.
No.
So we did not pick a safe word yet.
We did pick a safe word. It's monopoly.
Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do not pass go. Do not collect go. Do not collect money. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. All right. Well, we're going to dive into this topic. It's time to pull up your pants, my fellow deviants, and move on. That's right. We are talking about breakups in this episode.
Oh, fuck. Let me put my pants back up.
It has happened to everyone out there. We've all been broken up with. It is time for the 101 on what to do and how to handle it when you are being broken up with.
Oh, my God.
Just breathe.
You gots to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You gots to breathe. So, we all know it's coming. When you hear those famous 4 words, we need to talk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you hear those words, there's 2 things that go through your mind. Either 1, fuck, I'm getting broken up with.
Mm-hmm.
Or 2, fuck, they found out I'm cheating.
Oh, God.
So 9 times out of 10, it's fuck, I'm getting broken up with.
Mm-hmm.
And those are words that are ingrained in you from the time that you're a child.
Mm-hmm.
When your parents are like, I need to talk to you. What the first thing that goes in your mind is, what did I do wrong?
It's serious.
You
Yeah.
know.
That is serious.
Mm-hmm.
So, either way, that first moment, as soon as they say, we need to talk, that first emotion is just pure stunned.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you handle that? What do you do? How do we go forward? So what comes after that moment, though, is what's going to be key. And that comes down to, do you stay
Mm-hmm.
to have that conversation, or do you fucking get up and leave?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do?
It's a difficult place. Because first you have to acknowledge that it's going to be turbulent.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's going to be emotions flaring up and things like that. So people just avoid that completely. They prefer to avoid that. But it's better to be direct, in my opinion. Tell them exactly what the situation and just say, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be straightforward with it, is my opinion.
See, I have 2 schools of thought, or not really 2 schools of thought. I look at this from 2 sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says we need to talk and they want to break up with me, I look at it from 2 sides of the coin. 1, are they an asshole? Have they treated me poorly? If so, I'm getting the fuck out of there. If this has been a decent relationship, something that is, somewhat long term, then maybe I can see having that closure discussion.
Yeah, no matter what, I'm staying. Because for me, running away is just prolonging the inevitable. So no matter what it's going to be, I'm going to stay and listen to whatever comes after the we need to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you got to also look at the other side of that, or you got to look at the other factors involved. Is how emotional are you? Because if you're sitting there a sobbing, blobbering, crying mess, that's probably not the time to have that conversation.
Yeah.
If you're uncontrollably sobbing,
We are one smash in.
here we go again with this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're uncontrollably sobbing, then it's probably not the time to have that conversation. Now, if you're the evil genius that I know you are, and you can control it to where you get that one trickle of tear running down your cheek,
Wow.
that'll make them feel like a complete asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Then I agree. You should probably stick around and have that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Remember when that I like pain factor comes in.
Right?
Oh, God.
So, if you can hit that sweet spot with that tear, I'd say stay all day long.
Yeah.
Whether they're an asshole or not.
Yeah.
Make them feel like an even bigger asshole, But, how do you feel about people that break up with you in public, though?
I think that's horrible.
That is grimy to me.
Why would somebody want to break up with somebody in public is my question.
Yeah, I would never think I would be, let's say they did something in public that pissed me off, whatever. I'm still going to be like, we're going to have a conversation when we get home about the situation. Or even if it gets to that point of breaking up, I'm going to reserve it. Unless it's got to be like extreme. Like, what would...
They're looking for a retaliation of some sort.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and I think
and
that
that's why they're doing it in public.
anybody that wants to break up with you in public, like in a restaurant or a park or something like that, they clearly are doing it just for the pleasure of watching your pain.
Do you remember that? We were in Florida, and we were at that restaurant, and that woman was arguing with the guy.
Oh, that's right.
And
I do.
completely humiliated him and just like walked out on him.
I do remember that.
I could never imagine. I'm like, what did he do to get to that point?
And so if somebody was to try and break up with me in public, I think that's one of those moments where it's like, I'm just going to fucking walk out on your ass.
Yeah.
You come at me with, we need to talk. I think that, this relationship has run its course. I'm not sitting there and having a fucking conversation with you. I'll walk out the fucking door. We can have that conversation another time.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if we're breaking up at that point, because here at the end of the day, when somebody says they're going to break up with you, they've already thought about this. This is not a snap decision. This is something that they've pondered. They've answered all their questions. So for them to take the time and actually plan to do it in a restaurant or in a park or something like that with public eyes, they're fucked up. And why would you want to be with that?
Yeah.
So, so that's just my opinion. You look like you want to say something.
I'm just thinking. I don't know. I mean, other than them wanting to see their pain of doing that, the only other reason why I think it would be most of the time, maybe it was the final straw, something that happened while they were out. Maybe it wasn't premeditated, or
I can see where you're going with that thought process, but at the same time, I come back to you've already made that decision. You've already thought that process through. If they do this one more time, I'm walking out on them. I'm done with them.
Yeah. The only other thing I could think of is that they just don't want they don't want the crazy.
I think that's...
Maybe you're breaking up with crazy.
Yeah, well, we all know crazy.
Yeah.
I will say, though, that I did have one guy, and I'm amongst friends and stuff like that. I'm quiet, introverted.
Bullshit.
Not the one to be loud or anything like that.
Give him some smash.
But this man managed to get me to the point where I was yelling in front of like strangers, people around me. Like, I didn't care who was there. I literally exploded. And I didn't even realize why until the aftermath. Like, I felt super guilty, super bad about it. But it was because things were building up in that relationship. Like, I noticed that I was the one holding up that relationship, dealing with all the responsibilities of that relationship. And then when he did that one more thing, it just literally snapped me. And I went in rage mode. Now, I didn't necessarily break up with him in that moment, but it was pretty humiliating, and I humiliated myself. But,
Yeah.
I'm starting to think about that. Well, what's going on in that relationship that brings a person to that snapping point? Because they might just be like, yeah, I'm done. Like, this is the fed up moment of it all.
So, up until this point with those first two things is like, you have to think about it like, am I staying or am I going?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so, if you at this point are still staying to have that conversation, then you're telling yourself that you are emotionally grounded. You're not going to
freak out. Yeah.
It's not a crying, sobbing fest, and stuff like that. But now, if you are not that person, and there's some people out there, especially when it comes to breakups, because not all the time does everybody see them coming.
Yeah.
And so if you are that person that has to leave, and be like, I understand you want to break up. I'm just not in a position to have this conversation right now. Make sure you leave and show them that you have a higher level of maturity than they do. And when I say that is, heartbreaks are awful. And of course, if you're crying and stuff like that, that makes it even worse, but like I was just saying, when you leave, be like, look, this caught me off guard. I hear what you're saying, but I can't have this conversation right now. I need to process this. And all that I ask is that, in the near future, we sit down and have a conversation. So there's closure, not that I want to change your mind. So that then takes that maturity level and raises your bar well above theirs. So I know Megan's sitting here because she has a story to tell.
That sounds like you just want to do a soft landing, though. Like, we'll just break off. Everything will be cool. Just, woo-saw. But it's like, realistically, I feel like it's more chaotic.
Well, like, breakups are always chaotic.
Yeah.
Especially if you've ever been in if you've been in that relationship with them for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, okay. How about, like, breakups do you feel like all breakups should be in person, or people that do breakups over text messages?
I think that's just fucking cowardice, if you ask me. If you are let me rephrase this. If you are in a committed relationship with a person, and this is not a regular this is not like a regular friends with benefits, like if this is somebody that you can honestly say you are in a committed relationship with that person, you should do it in person.
But again, this person could be an asshole, or doesn't even deserve my time.
Then why have you been with him?
I mean, you reached that point where you recognize.
When I say you're in a committed relationship with this person, this is not like a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months.
You fell out of love.
This is like 6, 7 months, a year that you've been dating this person.
Okay, I'm going to agree with that.
Then you should do that in person. Now, if this is like a regular friends with benefits, or this is somebody that you kind of started dating, like, yeah, we're going out, and you're like a month into it and you're realizing this really isn't this guy that I thought it was. He's being an ass, or we're not clicking. Like, then yeah, I can kind of see having that, hey, this isn't working for me conversation via text.
Yeah.
Or even on the phone.
I also understand people that find it more easier to gather their thoughts and put it in a text message and stuff like that. But I understand, being in person and talking with the person and stuff like that.
Right.
If they can have a mature conversation.
Right.
If they can't have that, then I'm like...
Yep.
But I've had,
And we're going to get to Randy's guidelines for a mature conversation.
I don't want you anymore.
Mature conversations. Yeah.
Okay.
So now let's say you have decided to stay and you're not sobbing, right? And you're ready to have this conversation. Where do you go? What do you do?
You're not ready to have the conversation?
No, you are ready to have this breakup conversation. So what are you looking for is what you need to say first to yourself. That's how I feel.
You mean like, what do you need from them?
Like, at this point, like I said, you're trying to stay, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to stay together?
You're trying to, no. Hell no.
Okay.
If somebody wants to break up with you, no. Like, you're ready to have this conversation. Like, why are we breaking up conversation?
Oh, I know exactly.
Okay. So you don't want to don't waste the time with the questions you already know the answers to. If you think about it, most of the common questions you ask, like, why are we breaking up? How did this happen?
But if it's something out of the blue, you might not know.
If you're on the receiving end, yeah.
Yeah.
You could, this is true, but I mean, if you stop and think about it, you might actually know the answers to those questions already. Can this be fixed? Is there something is there someone else?
I don't give a fuck about any of that.
So
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna be
I don't care.
direct here. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And I've had situations where they ask for more explanation, but I'm like, this is what it is. Like, this is it. We're done. Whether it be like, and I don't want to be the person I try to keep it respectful too. Like, I don't want to call the person an asshole, but like, yeah, we're not compatible.
Yeah.
Like, that should be enough. We are not compatible, or our communication is off, it's poor, whatever the reason may be, there it is. But I'm not going to keep further breaking down the elaborations.
See, some people just don't get it. Like, I was seeing somebody for a few months, and it was great, kind of. I mean, it was weird. It was a first person I considered dating in years. Yeah, like actually doing a date thing. And out of the blue, I had plans to go out with the girls. He knew this. He already knew this, that it wasn't going to be available. He was military, and he had just got a positive drug result. Everybody knows in the military, you don't do drugs, okay? I mean, it's stupid. I have no tolerance for that. And he got upset with me because I was out with my friends, because I was not compassionate enough to stop what I was doing and go console him, because he decided to smoke pot and he
Got caught.
Yeah. And now it's getting processed out. That's not my fault. That was your dumbass. And he already knew how I felt about this stuff. So telling me to break my plans to go console him, I'm not your mother. I'm not going to do that. So he started going off on me in Texas. At some point, I stopped reading them. Like, I didn't even bother picking up my phone. And the next day, I didn't even read everything. He had sent me like 30 some odd text messages.
God damn.
I didn't even read them all.
Wow.
I just said, hey, sorry you did drugs and got caught, but I told you that was a big deal breaker for me. And yeah, I'm good. This is where this ends. I get a text message back. Unfortunately, I had to do this over text message. He was actually far. He's over an hour away. And I was a little concerned for my life. And he, okay, I get it, but I would really like to talk to you so I can get some closure.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know.
I did not.
Their closure was already there.
Yeah.
So that's
You already-
that's
I'm like,
what I'm
what
saying.
else do you? So my thought here is that he was trying to convince me to change my mind.
Right.
So I told it. So I never responded back.
So that's what I'm saying is like in that situation, the closure was already there.
Yeah.
He knew why you were breaking up with him.
Yeah.
So he had that simple answer answered for him.
Yeah.
Right. I'm talking about when you don't have the closure, like you're saying, like you were saying earlier, like the blindsided. Like,
yeah.
where did this come from? So, and like I said earlier, it's important to remember when somebody does that blindsided breakup with you, they've already answered the questions that they're asking. They've already come to their own conclusion. They've asked themselves these questions. They've figured out what they want, So now is not the time. If you are going to stay and have that conversation, right? Then, or even if you leave and come back to have that closure conversation, that is not the time to ask the simple questions, the how, the why, and stuff like that. You can still get those answers, but do not ask the surface level question. So I have like 5 different questions or kind of questions that I typically go to. And so for the first one is like, can you explain to me the feeling that led to this decision? And what you're asking is why are you breaking up with me? But by asking it in that manner, again, remind you we're keeping this. We want to look like we've got a better maturity level than them, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because we're not the ones breaking up with them. They're breaking up with us. We want to make sure that I want to show them that I'm a fucking god and you are losing.
Oh, you're losing me.
Exactly.
This is where I would just not even cater to your. I'd just walk out the door.
Yeah, but you don't know that.
Okay.
So get under that crux and let them examine that feelings and tell you why. But you ask them in that manner, what was the feeling that led to your decision to break up with me?
Mm-hmm.
So then the next thing, and this is really important for anybody out there that's getting broken up with, is this temporary or is this long term? And you're not asking that because you want to change their mind. You want to make sure that they're aware that you hear they want to break up with you and that what the decision they're making is final.
Yeah.
You can't come back to me tomorrow and say I made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
You made a decision to break up with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's final.
Yeah.
So you need that information. And like I said, you're not trying to change their mind. You want to make sure they know they're not coming back.
Yeah.
So the next question is that common, we give this with freebie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody always wants to know, is there anything that I could have done differently to make you wanted to have stayed in this relationship?
Mm.
Don't just, is there anything I could have done differently? What could I have done that would have made you want to stay? Because not all the time, is that something that I've done wrong? There's going to be times where it's breakups and it's going to be like, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
This is that moment for them to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
This is that moment for them to say, you know what? You are perfect in the relationship. I just feel like we are going in two different directions.
Mm-hmm. Or
you want kids and I don't, or vice versa, and I don't know that we'll ever mend that gap, or in the situation that I've had in the past is I want to get married and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it's one of those like, this is that moment for them to say why, and this is that give you that moment. And at the end of the day, it's going to help you move forward when you do get that answer. Because like I said, sometimes there's not a real tangible answer.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is, what are the communication expectations moving forward? Are we going to talk? Would you talk?
Again, this is dependent on the level of that relationship. For me, like if things were broken off in a things broke off cool. Like, okay, he's a grown adult. He understood what I said. Give it a cool down period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't talk for a good amount of time. And if you guys are able to, talk candidly and, just keep it at a friendship level, then yeah. It's like you got to test it out though. Because sometimes I've encountered where some could not handle that. Like it was a way to work their way, back into like a relationship status. Like they'll say things that it's like, no, you shouldn't say that. Like I'm seeing other people, I'm dating other people, chill out kind of deal, or get X'd out completely.
Yeah.
And then you got to think about, just how other people feel about that too. Like, do they feel comfortable with that?
I think it also depends on how the relationship started. Were they friends for years?
And this is one of those questions that I kind of go back and forth on.
Yeah.
Like, the real answer is if somebody's breaking up with you, you probably shouldn't be talking to them after they're breaking up with you. You probably should move on. But I have a real hard time saying that I would not do that or that I would not talk to them. And it goes back to that, because if you've had a long relationship with somebody, you know, and you go from where you're seeing this person or you're texting this person every day, you know, multiple times a day, to literally nothing, it's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. Again, I think I fall back to like, because I'm able to completely separate myself once I fall out of love with that person, is like they can disappear the next day. I'm not gonna care. But if I still have like some emotional attachment, like that love kind of thing, of that lingering memories of our past and stuff like that, it's really easy to fall back into it if you're thinking that way. Like you, I feel like, would be susceptible to falling back into the relationship because you're reminiscing about the fact that, you know, you guys talk so much, there was so much time spent between each other. If you can't have that separation, then you guys should definitely not be friends, in my opinion.
No, I get what you're saying. And that's why it's key to make sure you do have that hard line. You have to draw that hard line, because if you don't, then you can open that door for them to slide back into your DMs, you know, and it does gray
It
that
all starts
line.
with a giggle. No, what do you mean? Remember that day? Oh my God, at the beach. Oh, memories.
I remember a day on the beach.
I bet you do.
You should.
I don't remember.
The dude that come up to us on the beach that time,
Oh my God. That was so random. He wanted a skinny dip.
he wanted the skinny dip, and he came over to ask us if it was all right if he put his phone in the sand so it faced the ocean, and he went out and like took his clothes off in the ocean
He just took a dip.
right in front of us. But he wanted to make sure it was okay with us first.
I mean, that was polite of him.
Yeah, that was nice.
Okay.
I was trying to get some footage.
So, but I mean, so this is one of those questions, like, you really have to look at your ability to, are you able to continue to have a conversation with this person and keep it on that friendship level? If you were friends beforehand,
Yeah.
can you maintain a strict
Friendship.
or is this something that you have to completely cut them out?
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing is the biggest thing, especially if you live together, is the logistics of everything. What do we need to do to work out the logistics? Is that something meaning that we have to move out? Is that sleeping in separate bedrooms? You know, is there mail at this house? Do you have belongings here? You know, what keeps y'all intertwined? The thing is, you know, if you want to push it off and, you know, you keep pushing it off and you don't want to have that logistics conversation, then you do end up back into that, like you were saying, sliding back into that, oh, well, maybe this might work, you know, thought process. So, you know, these are just like my generalized, and I don't specifically say like these questions, but this is like what I tend to lean towards when I talk about, like, if I'm having a breakup conversation, like, these are the topics that I kind of steer my conversation to, you know, so, and they're designed to help, you know, with closure,
Yeah.
you know, and moving on, you know, and stuff like that. And in closure, like we were saying earlier, is like, you may not get closure, you know, you may not need to have a conversation with somebody. You know, it all depends on how long you've been dating, how long you've known this person. If I was friends with this person for, you know, 10 years and then we started dating and then now we're broken up, you know, yeah, we probably are going to need some kind of closure here, because where do we go at that point, you know? And, you know, so it's one of those, like, do we go back to being friends? Do we not talk at all? You know, kind of things. And so you kind of need that closure. So once that conversation is up, when do you leave?
I mean, I guess after your question, your stuff is it. I mean, biggest one, I guess it would be logistics.
Typically, I had a friend who was telling me about one of his breakups, actually, and he already knew he was gonna break up with this guy. Like, it was set for way in advance, like I'd say a couple months. But the logistics weren't there yet. Like he knew the moment he was going to go tell this guy, I'm breaking up with you, he was going to kick him out or attempt to kick him out. So he planned way in advance, knowing that in that moment when he says break up, he's out
He's
the
got
door.
a different.
Yeah, he's bouncing out the door. So, again, it falls back to that person like you're breaking up with, whether they're emotionally capable of having those kind of conversations where you can talk about logistics and stuff like that. But other times you have to kind of fend for yourself, kind of figure out what's going to be your plan to actually get out, whether it be, got to go back to the family or something like that to get out of whatever situation you're in.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, by Felicia's situation. And I understood his point of view because it sounded like a really like emotionally crazy kind of situation where he would flare up immediately with, being loud and all of that and arguing and stuff. There was no rational conversation with that person.
Right.
So,
or you can just be roommates.
yeah, or that. Depending on the level of, rationale, I guess.
Separation.
So, for me, I think that the conversation is over and it's time to go. And back to what I was saying earlier is like, if I'm the one being broken up with, I want to be the mature one. And so I want to get out of that conversation with as much dignity and as intactness as possible. So if we're having a conversation and everything's now becoming repetitive, we're saying the same things
Circle.
over and over and over, it's time to go. If you get to a point and you're not controlling yourself, you're controlling your emotions, and it's like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore, it's time to go. Leave with your dignity intact. So,
well, because you're speaking more on the receiving end.
Correct. And that's what we're talking about. Like this is from the perspective of the one being broken up with.
Yeah. That's a rough spot to be in.
Yeah. I mean,
it's all situational. I mean, although ideally the more mature we are in age wise and in life, these make more sense.
This is true.
But the younger generation.
And maybe that's why Izzy disagrees with me.
Disagree with what?
I'm joking.
Oh.
It makes, because ideally, this is how I would have loved to have been able to handle my situation. But that's not what happened. None of these things went through my head. It was, what the fuck am I going to do now?
Right.
And, where were you? God damn it. Where were you? Where were you 13 years, 16 years ago? Damn it. Talk all this stuff in my ear so I could have handled that better.
Right. But I mean, again, it comes back to, that beginning decision when you first hear those words of we need to talk, we're breaking up. So where are you at in your headspace at the time? If you're not emotionally ready to have that conversation, then don't allow them to force you to have that conversation either.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I said, you want to be the one that's more mature than them, and why the fuck do you want to be with somebody or give them the ability to still control you if they don't want to be with you? And so that's how I look at it. Like, it all comes back to that first initial, okay, he just told me he's breaking up with me. How do I feel about that? Am I ready to have this conversation? Do I want to have this conversation at a later point? And if you say, I want to have this conversation at a later point, that's fine. I mean, don't wait, 2-3 weeks, a month later. Do it within the week, but give yourself your time to get your headspace correct and know what you want to do. Again, we're not trying to change their mind, because again, they've already made this decision. So
I think that's the key thing too. If you're on the receiving end of a breakup, don't try to change their mind.
Yeah.
Because I notice a lot of people that I talk to about this and stuff, they end up falling into this manipulation trap where now the other person has the power to draw them in and then push them away when they find it convenient.
yeah, I mean,
which is a dangerous one.
And I can tell you, like, from my standpoint and what I've been through with breakups, I've felt like a yo-yo sometimes. So, and like you said earlier, like, I do tend to lean towards that, I used to lean toward that. You can pull me back in with the right words, and the right actions. And so for quite a while, I felt like a yo-yo. You wanted to be with me, then you don't. Then you want to be with me, then you don't. Then you want to be with me, then you don't. And so, am I your plan B?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what it becomes.
So that's just kind of where my thought process on that one is. But after we've had that conversation, now comes the moving on part. How do we move on? What do we do? And that all, that comes with how intertwined was the lives. Did we live together? Did we have bank accounts together? Were we just fucking? And so the key thing to remember, though, is that moving on starts by focusing on yourself. Don't fucking care about them. The moment for revenge sex is going to happen. So
in my head, I'm like, get your dick sucked.
There's going to come a point where you can fuck his dad.
Oh my God.
Or his brother.
Would you do that? If the opportunity presented itself, would you fuck like one of their family members or something?
A friend, maybe. No, I wouldn't do family.
If I was that pissed off at somebody, I'd fuck their brother.
Would you?
Yes, I would.
Damn, you messy. Okay.
I would. I honestly could probably even go as far to say that I'd send them pictures.
Oh,
you're out for revenge. That's revenge.
Yeah, that's revenge.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Ooh, don't scorn him.
I will. Yes. I can honestly say that I would probably fuck their brother.
Okay.
If I found them attractive.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we have requirements.
We have requirements. I mean, at the very least, I'd let him give me a blowjob and video record it for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, but it's, like I said, moving on, the primary focus is on you. And what do you want to do to empower yourself? You need to look at it from the standpoint of, I am free. Don't act like a victim at this point. You are unleashed and you are looking for your next conquest. You're in the driver's seat. You can, deserve better, and you are going to find better. And so it's important to remember that, get out there, get yourself right, and then get the fuck back in them sheets.
Yeah. So my mindset with a breakup too is like every single one, it's like, I'm going to do better and find better is the mindset. And then I end up finding someone better. And you look back at your past relationship, like, why was I so held up on that one? I think that's really important, pointing that out.
Yeah, I mean,
you can do better. You can find better. You can find someone who legitimately cares.
Exactly. It's so I can tell you this: you'll never find better than me.
Wow, my ass is talking.
That's because all that cum coming out of it.
Queen. Stop. I'm not that type of person anymore.
So, I mean, I told a little bit of my stories. Do you have any breakup stories you want to talk about?
Oh my God. I have a few. I'm gonna go with the let's see catalog here. Okay, let's go with this one.
The Let's See catalog. God damn. How many times have you been broken up with?
No, this is the situation. Like, not all of them are clean. Like, not all of them are. You have that moment of like, let's have a discussion. Let's sit down. This was one that was brewing. Like, he was the type of person that was very controlling, to the point where like I had to dress a certain way around him. By the way, he was also on the down low, which made it worse. But my friends knew I was gay, and all of a sudden I'm hanging around with this guy. So it's like, come on, dude. They know.
Yeah.
We know. Anyway, so like, it was something that was boiling over time, and then he got a little bit more controlling. And then aspects of the relationships were like kind of male female kind of dynamic. He expected me to be the more submissive role, and then eventually kind of that stereotypical. And I'm like, we're both dudes here. Like, that doesn't mesh well with me, and I don't like to be controlled all the time. No, that's where the brat came in. Like, nah. But then it got into a point where we started arguing about things. And in that moment, in the argument, I was like, fuck this. And I looked at him, and he's like, and I was just like, I know what I want, and it's not you. It's over. And I walked out. And he just sat there like in silence. He didn't call out anything. I just like grabbed my stuff and bounced. And that was it. And he did eventually reach out, and I'm like, it's over. Like, it's done. I don't want to be with you. I know what I want in a person, and it's not you. There's your freaking closure. But it was one of those things where, all of the pieces just were coming together, and in that argument, it was like, it's over. It's done. This is the crescendo of it all. And I made sure to be completely direct with him. It was a moment of clarity. Like, it just washed over me. And I was like, okay, this is it. And just gave it to him, just direct. He absorbed it, and I walked out. Now, not all of them were like that, but that was one of the most memorable ones where I did apologize because I felt kind of bad. Where I was like, oh, maybe I was being a little bit too cold, but then, kept it moving. Not the way it should have been completely introduced, but regardless, just moved on from it.
Right.
And ended up finding better.
So mine's I've only had one.
One breakup? Or where somebody broke up with you?
Yeah, where they broke up with me. It was very, very long, years long relationship. And I can picture it. This was 15 years ago. And I can still feel those same feelings. My kid was an infant. We went downstairs for breakfast. We were staying with his family until our place was having some fixing done, so we couldn't move in yet.
Yeah, some renovations.
Yeah, and I'm holding our kid. And the whole family is sitting at the table. His brothers, his sisters, his mom, his dad. And he says, you need to leave.
Just like that?
Yeah.
Wait, with the family?
Oh, I'd fucking cut his dick off.
And I'm like, are we going somewhere? I had no clue whatsoever. I had no idea. He's like, no, we're not going to be together anymore. You need to leave.
He's a coward.
Wow.
The fact that the fact that he did that in front of his family is a dick fucking move.
That was, yeah.
And number two, the reason he did it in front of his family is because he was too fucking weak to do it without them.
So
that's insane.
I looked at his mom's face, and she looked away.
Wow.
Looked at Dad. He looked away. And I looked back at him. He's like, you can stay in the hotel. So for 2 weeks, me and our kid lived in a hotel till I could figure out where to live, where to go. I lost my job because I didn't have anybody to watch our kid.
Mm-hmm.
All the money I just spent on our place to live. Took me 2 weeks to get up enough courage to call my family and tell them what happened. I hadn't heard from him. He didn't reach out to see his kid. That was basically it. It was after that 2 weeks, I went to go live with my family. Maybe 2 months later, I get a call from his mom wanting to listen to the baby. And she couldn't even give me any insight. She had no idea why he did that. And I eventually found out why. But it was blindsiding. I was super emotional. I was crying the whole time I was packing our bags. His mother was holding our kid while I was packing the car. And then
Wow.
we had a good time in the hotel. Me and the baby. We basically just watched TV, although he had no idea what he was watching. Yeah, my brain just, I'm like, what did I do? I had no idea. We were fine. I had
He
no
gave you
idea.
no inclinations.
Nope. I had no idea. It wasn't until months and months later, he wouldn't answer any of my calls. I tried, mostly because my situation was a little different. We had a child together. But he decided to try things over with the woman he had cheated on me with. They had a child together also.
Oh, wow.
And he had gotten her contact information when she served him with papers for child support. So they started talking again. And he always wanted a little girl. And so he decided to try to make it work with her. But I didn't know till months later that he was seeing her.
What a douchebag.
Yeah,
Whose tires am I slashing?
yeah.
Tires, hell. You'd better sleep with your goddamn fucking chastity belt on.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
just
fine.
recorded. That's why.
Yeah.
As far as they know, I'm slashing tires.
Yeah. So my maturity level, I was an emotional wreck, but I had to still be there. I had a baby to care for. So it was kind of split. I still wanted to know what the fuck I did.
Right.
But I couldn't. So the only thing I could do was, suck up my embarrassment, tell my family what happened, and have them help me, and moved on from there. Unfortunately, I didn't move very far. I couldn't get myself to get back out into the dating world for another 13 years. But I needed time for me.
Yeah.
So that's what that was.
Yeah. And again, you focused on yourself. And I mean, I didn't know you back then,
Yeah.
but I can tell you now that you're a strong woman.
Yeah.
So, and you're not going to let people get in your way.
Nope.
So
it's tough. It can be tough. And you are.
dating can be tough, and breakups are even harder.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. He did a dick move.
Again, and that's what I say earlier, like that public. I mean, that comes back to just being in public there.
Yeah.
He did
Yeah.
that on purpose because he couldn't handle being a man.
Yep.
Is what that came down to.
Just being a decent human being. Like
Yep.
that. And you have a child involved as well. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that was pretty shitty.
Yeah.
But we're good now. I got it now.
Well, you do. That's right.
Her booty breaks spoons.
Oh yes, it does.
So, well, that about wraps up this episode of Raw and Uncut, my fellow deviants. If you want to know more about our show or reach out to one of our hosts, you can head over to our website at rawanduncutcast.com or look us up on Facebook by searching Raw and Uncut Cast, all one word. Send us an email at rawanduncutcast@gmail.com. We are going to be doing a listener's tales coming up here soon. So if you've been listening to our episodes and you have a story you would like to share, shoot us that story and we'll feature it on one of our shows coming up here. We don't have to share your name if you don't want us to. Just let us know. But before we go, breakups can be hard, like we were just saying. Once you arrive at that moment of breaking up, there is always someone who is more invested in the relationship than that other person. Somebody is always the one that gets blindsided. And if you are the one being broken up with, just know that it is going to get better. It may take some time, but focus on yourself and you will always find someone else. That person, that next person is going to be worthy of your time. And the person that broke up with you, they're not worthy of your fucking time anymore.
Nope.
So move on, take your time, collect yourself, and get back in them sheets.
Yeah.
Hey, enjoy yourself.
Exactly. And as always, choose your safe word wisely.
Slashing tires.